and he's going to judge you in summary jurisdiction 90% of the time. Don't worry about a trial by jury, you aren't getting it. So you're going to do what you're told. No, we're not. How can you stop him? Number one, stand up and say, excuse me, you can't do that under the Constitution. You're in breach of Magna Carta. Magna Carta's old legislation, is it? Yes. Well, what about the Statute of Monopolies? What about the Act of Habeas Corpus? You can't sit as a single judge. That's all rubbish. We're in Western Australia. Constitution has no value in this court. Oh, doesn't it? No. Well, you've just given me my first avenue of appeal to the High Court. Oh, good luck with that. Yeah, thank you. I need a bit of luck, especially dealing with the corporate court. Oh, where do you get that from? Well, where did you get your appointment from? Where's your authority come from? They've got a commission. What's a commission? It's an appointment by a corporation to a position in a corporate gathering, which they call a court. And when you question them, do you sit under Chapter 3 of the Constitution? No, we sit under State Acts and Statutes. Ford's decision, Cable decision, Lane versus Morrison. Ford's is the best one. It says, no judicial function can be carried out in this country except under the provisions of Section 71 through 80. Michael Kirby said that, if you want to look that up. But the Cable decision, it's now a Cable number 2. Both of those refer to Chapter 3 courts. Lane versus Morrison, Justice French, the current Chief Justice of the High Court, throughout every case in the military courts for the last 6 years, because one single judge sat on them, it could not comply with Chapter 3 of the Constitution. Nice judges over our way say, oh yeah, well, it was something to do with military courts. No, all courts. All means every court in this country. And the decision of the High Court, once published, is final and binding on the courts, judges, people of every state. If you want a reference to that, it's, yeah, all right. Cable decision, yeah, just leave it at that. There is a few others. At the end of the day, these judges are sitting there lying to you. So what did we need? We needed somebody to recognise that that statute law, that corporate statute law, had no value. Good old Justice French 5 weeks ago turned around and told the DPP of New South Wales, and it's good I'm here because now you can know your DPP has no value whatsoever. He turned around and told them, you're creatures of the statute which employs you, and as such are not officers of the Crown. Now this is a decision already made in relation to New South Wales, and they knew it. They had no right to be there, and they knew they had no right, because in 1996 in Sydney City Council versus Reid, Kirby then again said, you people are employees of a corporation and as such are creatures of that statute and have no value as an officer of the Crown. Where have they gone? Down the toilet. They knew it. What were they doing back before the High Court? They thought they could bluff the High Court because of the pressures put on by Gillard. Everybody thinks, High Court, yeah, it's corporation. Sure, I understand that. If you put enough constitutional facts before the High Court, if they don't deal with it, they know their jobs are gone. Because their only ability to sit there is reviewing constitutional issues. They know if we go to the International Court, where they've breached our Constitution, and they're the people that keep it, they know they can go to jail. I know Justice French's wife, she was a magistrate in the Children's Court when I got sent there for thumping the superintendent, but that was another story I don't even want to discuss. At the end of the day, she's a lovely person, he's a nice guy, tough. We've got millions of nice guys sitting in all our places, and they're all nice, and they're all willing to stab you in the back. We have to wake up to that fact, we have to face them, and we have to deal with the issues they raise. Every time you go into court, you need to raise the constitutional issues which prevent them dealing with that. And the reason I'm saying that, go back to your Rule 26 of High Court rules. Go into documents and get your Form 17 and read it. It has to be accompanied by an affidavit. Your grounds of removal, it's not grounds of appeal, it's grounds of removal. And if you've got sufficient grounds and the Constitution to back it up, which has to be in your affidavit and in those grounds, the High Court must take the case out of whatever court you're in and put it in the High Court. They then must deliberate in accordance with the Constitution. I say must, hopefully it's going to happen. But if we bomb them with enough cases, they're going to have to do it. Currently we have 2 in there. As soon as I get back to Perth, before I can go back to Geraldton, I'm going to spend 2 days putting in all my case and filing it in the court. It's been accepted. I have to file the actual case, which is the state constitution, the office of governor, instructions to the governor. I actually have the copies of those documents from the archives. When you go there now, they block it in Western Australia. You can access them here because I gave Sue Mains one last time I was here. Every single state can do it. And someone said to me, why don't you give it to every state? Well, I am. But what I ask is, one at a time. If all the states do it at once, we're going to end up under the Patriots Act, which Howard put in place. He can declare martial law, bring in the army, and bring in the United Nations and take this country. And they love it. One state at a time, they can't. They can't justify it. They can't. So we've got it in. As soon as we get a court date for ours, we'll notify you. Do it here. Then Victoria, then Tasmania, then Queensland. Or Queensland first, whichever which way you want to do it. I'm not going to dictate that. And then into South Australia. The issue is, you can break them down. We can get rid of the one world government. We can block them. You go back to 1605, Pedro coughing and a sneeze, and I mean that with respect, his name's about that long, a Spaniard, claimed the Commonwealth of Australia, or the country called Australia, the Great Southland as the Holy Spirit, and his lieutenant, Torres, planted the flag there and claimed it for Spain and for God as the Great Southland of the Holy Spirit. You go back to your common law of the Bible, it says in every time God's done something in this earth, He's always provided us with a sanctuary. And I believe this country is a sanctuary for everybody when He destroys the world again. And it's going to happen. It did last time, will next time. But going back to your constitutional rights, how do you apply them? Simply, you can read them. You don't have to read too much before you find out nothing they're doing is lawful. You don't have to read too much before you find out they're subservient to you. You don't have to read too much before you find out all it takes is a little bit of guts. When men become men and women become women instead of a pack of wimps buckling down to idiots to stand up and take this country back. Why don't we do it? Because we're dumbed down. Fluoride, Hitler used it, dumbed down the whole population. Get a water tank and drink that. Has marvellous results. My daughter had eczema all over her until we moved on our property and got rid of all the junk and got rainwater. It doesn't have it anymore and doesn't even suffer from it anymore. Fluoride was creating it. Half of the diseases we got are from fluoride. You see it all over the internet, get rid of fluoride. Yeah, get rid of it. Go and get yourself a water tank, first step. Argue the point in court, second step.
Do water filters remove?
No, they don't. Go to a chemist. I went to Colin Prittis, the state government chemist in Perth, and he told me the one thing that will not come out with a filter is fluoride.
What about reverse osmosis?
Doesn't work. Doesn't take it out. Nothing does. Even if you vaporise it using those solar vaporisers, it vaporises the fluoride. You still get it. There's no way out of it. Through the fuel systems I design, I use 0.5 and micron filters. You put fuel in, it comes out crystal clear the other side. It takes out all the additives. I then took those additives to the state chemical laboratories, they tested them, and you'd be surprised how much stuff stays in there. But you'll also be surprised where the other stuff comes from. What you're burning in your car, 90% of the time, is waste from chemical factories. There's 27 ingredients in unleaded fuel, and most of it comes from chemical factories. You've got triethyl naphthalene, ethylated naphthalene, methylated naphthalene. And as we discussed yesterday, don't put this E10 or whatever they call it in your car. The ethylated alcohol will destroy your system where you've got two types in your fuel already, so it has a little bit extra. you're going to get more bang for your money out of that, and it's going to save money and get more mileage, so they're not going to make as much. That's why they don't want you to swap to it. It's purely and simply economics. And I can tell you, you can take all the rubbish out of there, alter your timing 2 degrees and run on fuel with no additives. Oh no, it'll destroy your valves or pound your valves. No, it won't. As soon as your car starts to ping, you retard the timing takes to ping out. If you understand anything about automotive industry, or some of their engines, it's the biggest rot on the Australian people other than the Parliament itself. And I'm not going to go into the fuel system, we'll be here all day or all week. But at the end of the day, you're being rotted with everything you do. Your engines are designed to fire on number 1 and number 6 at the same time. Number 1 is driving the cylinder down, number 6 is exhausting. It fires there to burn up all the waste, chemical waste, before it gets to your catalytic converter. It goes through, in the front of the converter, a wire mesh, copper, with palladium sprayed on it. And that alters the molecular structure 7 times, so it will combust in the oven that's created, called a catalytic converter. And that's as far as I'm going with that, because you're looking confused already. The fact is, it's a scam. You're burning, and they're saying, oh, your car's 70 or 80% fuel efficient, and they're claiming up to 100%. The car is, the engine's not. 10 to 18% actually uses on the engine. The rest is waste. So let's go back to your constitution. If your government was serving you, you wouldn't have that problem. They're not. They're serving the oil companies and all those. Having said that, I've got a sore throat, so I'm going to have a drink and a break. Is anyone all right with that?
Yeah.
Thank you.